like Anubis, with pristine, so back mindset, like a machine. In the game, we're clean, we're so keen. Powers in the sky, chasing that dream obelisk tide, we rock the scene. Capturing rhymes while taking what's unseen. On the arc, we're kings, we're supreme. Never seen the limits in when we evergreen. Time cross, very interesting. We will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting down. Running, charge, and calculate the power we bring. Cutting like a panther, hear the battle sing. We're blazing through the ranks on the move and swing. With might in our heart to take everything. Everything pillars rise as we claim our throne. For victory, we've already grown. On the field we fight, we overthrow the known. Nothing stop us, ain't no way we stay alone. Time cross, very interesting. We will go claim the crown. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death. From the desert altar to the desert outpost, we crave more. With every sweet stride, we will right. We're opening the door. So here's to the grind. We'll tear it down. There's nothing they can never do to take down our crown. And we will pop them down and make the drum sound. There's something inside more blessings sneaking around. Now watch the ice still. We're fighting death. Yeah, we're fighting death. We're fighting death. We're fighting death.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Osiris League Quarterfinals. I am Brian Koo, and I am very excited to bring you a big match in the realm of Horus today. It is going to be OWR against GV77. OWR is from Kingdom 2638. And they are going up against one of the favorites here in the realm of Horus, GV77 from Kingdom 2377. This is a very big match for both of these teams. The winners this week in the quarterfinals, they will get the new castle skin that only semifinalists of the Osiris League receive. It is always coveted by all players in the Rise of Kingdoms community because it does give you 3% training speed, and that is a very hard stat to get on your castle skins. It is called Anubis the Judicator. It also gives 3% attack, and it is a very cool looking castle skin this season in the Osiris League. It's got the Anubis figure or statue on top of this castle skin. The Anubis that you see in the middle on the Osiris League map, you get this standing on top of your city skin. Very cool skin, and these two teams will be playing for that in today's matchup. With GV77, we have a team from one of the biggest kingdoms in the game, 2377, and they are a kingdom and a team that is in a bit of uncertain territory at the moment. Their longtime R5 and ARC team leader Shark did retire after their last KVK, which was a hard-fought, historic, legendary loss to 1960 and their allies. Shark put in tons of time and effort into that KVK and did decide to retire after that. And so when a great R5 leaves a kingdom, it leaves a very big hole that needs to be filled. And from my own personal experience, when the R5 leaves, it has everyone reeling and everyone wondering what the future of the kingdom is. And, looking at what 2377 has done so far in this Osiris League, they only won by a few thousand points last week against SN41. And so they may be a little bit shakier than we have seen them in recent time. On the other hand, you have OWR from Kingdom 2638, which is, I would say, a kingdom on the rise. They won a big KVK earlier this year, beating some other big A-seeded kingdoms, and now they are making their deepest run in the Osiris League. OWR did not finish in the top 32 last season. They did finish in the top 32 in the realm of Bastet 2 seasons ago. But this is the deepest run they have ever made. And they have a very nice shot in this match against GV77. Now, one of the big decisions that both of these teams are going to have made in the last 24 hours is related to the new garrison commander, Tokugawa, and pincer formation. They have very tough decisions to make here about whether they are going to have their players build Tokugawa, whether they're going to switch their infantry garrisons to the pincer formation, and whether they're going to use Gorgo Tokugawa in garrisons rather than using Eleanor Hera or Hera YSS, the more typical Osiris League garrisons. So, very big decisions for these two teams to make, and let's go ahead and jump into the match here and see how things are looking as this pregame winds down. So everybody is teleporting in. We've got about 2 minutes to go before this match starts. There was just so much to say about this match here. And, it is just going to be very interesting to see where GV77 is at without Shark, their leader. Last week, it was this player here, Evrine, who was casting the skills for GV77. You can see they do have a different player up front, Don RB. It is a little bit tricky to get the right person up front. Here's Mars Invasion, another officer from GV77, and one of those players that when you say to people in the know, Shark is a tough player to replace, how can GV77 be the same kingdom without Shark? Mars Invasion is one of the players that people in the know will say, well, they still have Mars. And so he's not up front for the sending T1 marches out, but the players in the back here are going to be the players who teleport early on. So these are the bigger players here. You've got Akina here, and then of course the big boy here, Wild Lion. He is going to be a major factor in this match, as is Mr. Hope. They have got the Valiant Wolf titles on, which I believe is a result of the Home Gang event in their current KVK. So, although I'm not sure, because a lot of these guys have the Valiant Wolf tag. I think it probably is. I think Valiant Wolf is for the Home Gang. So they have been dominating the home game standings, obviously. And then here we have OWR, who did beat WIB last week. OWR pulled a nice upset on WB last week to make it this far. They won both mid-fights. They won 2 out of 2 mid-fights against OWR, or against WIB, to get that win. And let's see right off the bat how things go. Irvine casting Energetic, and Kissimmee casting it for OWR. And in OWR's case, they do seem to have 2 fast T1s heading out. And looks like we have got the same situation for GV77. After last week, both teams making sure that they get to these obelisks quickly. Everyone in the Rise of Kingdoms community saw what happened to 960 GT and how costly it was to not get to that obelisk very, very fast. A sentry going down at the outpost by GV77. Let's see if there are any sentries on the blue side. Blue side with this very traditional, very convenient sentry ward. Here on the red side, they are able to see movement to both buildings from this sentry ward. And that will certainly be helpful for them as they decide what to do right off the bat. Here's another red team sentry ward trying to sniff out blue team's vision, but they are not going to see it there. And we do see both teams getting their obelisks pretty quickly compared to one another. Actually, they're almost identical. The times here on these two obelisks are almost identical, showing that both teams did the optimal speed getting to these buildings. And both teams rolling out now. We've got to think about whether there's going to be any shenanigans. This is what 3379 did last week to GT. They had a very big T1 march, get to this obelisk, and capture it right off the bat. I can tell you, we did see a big T1 march go into this obelisk. There was about 315k tier 1 in the march that hit this obelisk. So Horse is not going to take this thing down in time relative to this rally getting here. And Horse is going to break off. This is what you want to do as a T1 player. If you're not going to get the building, go ahead and move around and maybe try to steal some of these outposts. Looks like in the chat we've got 58% of you believe that 2377 is going to win. 42% of you think that OWR is going to win. The odds were heavily in GV77's favor, but a lot of people here feeling like OWR has a very good chance in this match. And we're going to see if those people are correct or not. I certainly would agree that OWR at the odds that they were at were a good bet here. But GV77 has been a very, very good ARC team in the past. They finished 3rd in the realm of Bastet last season and played a pretty close match against 960 in that realm of Bastet. Or in the realm of Anubis, excuse me. So both teams posturing up rather traditionally. You can see that GV77 has nice position at their own desert altar, posturing up confidently at their desert altar. And now here comes OWR. OWR is going in. Decent numbers for OWR here, but also pretty decent numbers for GV77. If anything, it looks so even that you would figure GV77 to win this one. But here is the engage. We do see lots of BQs, Bei Chi out on the field, and it's going to be interesting to see what sort of combos people go with behind BQ. The expected lineup was going to be BQ LC, but early testing results have shown that BQ performs not that much better with LC compared to commanders like Ragnar and Philip. And so what you can do is split these two Smite commanders up, have BQ with Ragnar or Philip, and Lucci with somebody else such as Alex. I'm trying to get a look at some of these other ones. We did just see an LC Phillip there. Let's see what Thurgle is going with. It looks like he's also got BQLC. And OWR does get into this Desert Altar. They've got the Herman Garrison here. Looks like OWR did pretty well at this building. They're slightly winning the open field battle here while also putting some marches into this building. Worth noting that the Shrine of War was taken by GV77, and then they get an Eleanor in here. Super interesting. Looks like a swarm here from a few different players. And then they get the Eleanor into this building. Nice move here by GV77, Peppa, and Akina to steal this building. This is causing real problems. This is causing real problems for OWR here. They are trying to swarm down this Eleanor, and they may get it. They may get it. But a pretty big deal here. And also GV77 took this Desert Altar right off the bat. This has always been a very strong lane for GV77, Mr. Hope, and Wild Lion in this lane. So they're going to try to hold this Desert Altar for the first capture. Looks like it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for GV77 to hold this Desert Altar just because they don't have massive control. And it looks like there's an Eleanor in the field here. Look at this. Look at this Eleanor. Irvine probably needs to get into the building. Maybe there's a garrison already in there. You would imagine there's a garrison already in there if Irvine is just field fighting with this Eleanor Hera. A Shajar from Wild Lion slipping into the building as well. So GV77 has 2 minutes now to try and hold this building. Just quickly looking at the skills here. Nothing else being cast so far. And look at this, the Eleanor still holding, causing a lot of trouble for OWR. They will eventually knock her out, but it's just some points denied. It's some points denied for the blue team there, not being able to take their own building. And GV77 has now taken this Desert Altar, and they're just watching as blue team kills off their marches, getting ready for mid. 4 minutes to go before this first mid fight. Let's see what Kissimmee has behind their BQ. We might not be able to see it because they're just running. But a quick census of the buildings here. Desert Altar, as predicted, ultimately, this thing is not going to get first captured by GV77, but a nice disruption here for these marches. Some of these marches will not be at full health when they go middle. And look at this, they are not really going middle here. Some of these players are actually going to rotate towards the Shrine of War. And only 1 rally for GV77, 3 rallies for OWR right now. They have 3 rallies up onto buildings. So it looks like OWR is thinking a little bit about not going super heavy mid and trying to put some work in on the sides as well. But in fact, it is the blue team, OWR, who's getting to mid first. Kind of interesting movement here. GV77 has had a nice start, although they haven't first captured all their buildings yet. And yet they're not mobilizing to mid anywhere near as fast as OWR is. You can see a lot of red marches over here on the top side. On the bottom side as well, look at this. Look at this movement here by GV77. Some of their marches here are pretty low, but they are going to try and take this Sky Altar instead of going middle. So it looks as though GV77 is going to sack the first mid, giving it to OWR. Very interesting decision by GV77 here. Now, this is GV77 is a super strong team. They have great account strength. Top to bottom, this is one of the strongest whale kingdoms in the game. So I would say it is a very interesting decision, interesting in quotes, for 77 to decide to not fight for this first mid and go for some of these buildings instead. And in fact, Cyborg, boy, this is pretty wild stuff here from GV77. Cyborg is rallying the obelisk. He's not rallying this Sky Altar. He's going through and he's rallying the obelisk with his Attila Subutai. It's a bold strategy, Cotton, and let's see if it pays off. Hello to everybody in the chat. Thank you all for being here. Hello to Toby, who is taking a break from his current war to watch this match. Do throw a like on the stream and share your vote in the chat. The poll is still going on to vote for this match. Those people voting now have a lot more info than people who voted early on. Sneaky tactics being cast by GV77. They're going to try to delay this arc, but look at this. The instant counter, the hard counter from OWR with the Desert Storm revealing all of these marches that went into stealth. They are instantly revealed by the Desert Storm. So a big counter there by OWR, and now they are just swamping these red marches that thought they could hide, but now are just in deep trouble here. They have stretched out the OWR ball a little bit. A bit of space created, but not what GV77 had planned here. Certainly not what they had planned. Now, the obelisk, did it get flipped here by Cyborg? Okay, it looks like there was not a rally on the obelisk. It looks like maybe they canceled it. They're still trying to swarm this obelisk down. And they did take this Sky Altar. GV77 did take the Sky Altar away from... And it was Akina who came in with this rally, an Attila Subutai rally, decimating the Hera garrison. So they do get value for the sack of the mid. They've taken both altars. Right now, 3 altars in the hands of GV77. However, OWR did get a cheeky flip on this Sky Altar. So if you look at the points per minute, it is well in the favor of GV77, who did cast No March. I apologize for missing it, but No March was cast 2 minutes ago by GV77, and so they are getting extra points at the moment. OWR has taken the first arc, and if we assume they return this thing, they will have the lead in the match. They've been holding the lead this whole time. It will temporarily flip as some first captures get locked in, but OWR does get the first arc, and they slightly stymie the plans of GV77 by flipping their Sky Altar and also using that Desert Storm. Well predicted by OWR to have Desert Storm on their bar and use it for a very nice counter. Yuzril in the chat saying, if GV77 lose, there will be more meme and drama. I mean, we had 960 lose last week. Here's another big boy looking like they're in for a tough match at the moment. Now this one is still very close. Very, very close. GV77 has a bit of a lead here, but this is the situation. No Mark now being cast by OWR. Their No Mark is going to get very good value. And they use No Mark just as they flip this building. Well-timed No Mark, actually, because this is one of the things that No Mark does, is it reduces the capture time by 60 seconds. You can see that OWR just took this building, and now they are less than a minute away from fully capturing it and starting to earn points on it. So pretty well-timed there. And they also flipped the Shrine of War. Another win here for OWR at the Shrine of War. Looks like it was a bit of a swarm there. And look at this. Domination here at the GV77 Desert Altar as well. At least field domination. The Eleanor is standing strong in this garrison. But here comes the rally. It's a full rally. It's a full rally from OWR. It's going to be like a Henry Zug, most likely. And just some very good play here from OWR so far. If and when they return that arc, they will have the lead in the match. And this is going to be a big hold and a lot of pressure that this Eleanor is under here. This thing is likely to go down. Swarm plus rally. This Desert Altar is short on time for the red team. They do have a lot of players pushing in. Cyborg among them. Trying to get in, trying to reinforce this building, but there it goes. It flips. It flips to OWR. Now, the one thing about the Archer rallies is there's not necessarily a great garrison. There is a CY, but not a lot of people have it. There it is. There's the CY garrison for OWR in this building. Forward attack by OWR. Very interesting stuff here early on from both teams. GV77 choosing to sack the first mid and use no mark early. They got a bit of value from it, but not a ton. And now at this point, the no mark for GV77 has worn off while the no mark for OWR is active. And you can see it on the scoreboard, 600 points more per minute for OWR. And they've got the Gorgo here. Let's take a look if they're using... It looks like a Hera. That's going to be a Gorgo Hera. So OWR choosing to use Gorgo Hera in this Sky Altar. And it holds up strong against the rally. At this point, the advantage on the map is for OWR. They have all 4 altars at the moment. OWR has all 4 of the altars. And they have good garrisons in both enemy altars. We've got an Eleanor over here on the top side. No rally coming out yet here. Arvix and others in this lane for GV77. And then over here in this lane, they've got a CY in the garrison. Again, no rally. No rally from GV77 here. It's just a full swarm. If they were a little bit sharper and more organized, there would be a rally hitting right now. But instead, oh, there is a rally. Excuse me, there is a rally. BT Cyborg, part of this with the Attila Subutai rally. That is why this thing is going down so fast. So a recapture here for GV77. Let's see how they're doing on this top side. They have cleared the field, and Arvix has a rally on this Eleanor. So GV77 doing a good job of taking back their buildings, which will eventually even out the scoring. But listen, OWR has the lead and the arc. So they basically have about a 3,500 point lead right now. Very nice start for OWR. They are holding this arc. We will see how long they hold it. My prediction is that they're going to hold this for a very long time. I think that OWR feels like being given the first arc is a nice gift from their opponent, and they're not going to mess around and try to make this a 3 or 4 arc game. They're just going to hold this thing and play the side game. I think that's a very good strategy because so far OWR has been looking very good on the structure game. Let's quickly look at the ratio here. OWR is actually out-ratioing GV77 by a couple million KP, and that is pretty surprising as well. Decent attack here by GV77 with this Attila Subutai rally. The rally got there a little bit before the field, so this rally is getting swarmed down. You see that the defense here is swarming down this Attila rally, and that is going to be enough to get the defense. So two back-to-back defenses at this Sky Altar by the Gorgo Hera. And elsewhere on the map, both teams have their own buildings. At this point, both teams have all of their own buildings, and none of the attacks look all that promising. Although, over here at the Sky Altar on the top side, this is a building that has been flipped multiple times, and it's looking under threat again here. Just as GV77 is going to start to get some points here, another rally coming in, another full rally from OWR. They're doing a great job of filling up their rallies. So GV77 has a bit of presence around this building, but heavy swarm. Heavy swarm on this Eleanor, plus a full rally. Look at the damage per second that is being put out here by OWR. This Eleanor is having a lot of trouble holding on. We do have some rains coming in. A Huok that could jump in. Penny's going to try to jump in with infantry, but it's not fast enough. OWR getting this Sky Altar yet again. Another take of this Sky Altar by OWR, and a very nice trade as well against the Eleanor. They now get their own Eleanor in, and let's take a look at how long it takes GV77 to get a rally back up on this. Arvix is the player who rallied it back last time. Arvix is hitting this Shrine of Life with no field support. Full rally, but no field support. You see rains coming in. So let's see how quickly GV77 gets a rally up on this building. Yeah, nothing yet. No rallies yet on this Sky Altar. And that's, I think, really what is the story of this match so far, is GV77 is a little bit sloppy in what they're doing. They didn't get full value from skipping the first arc. This lane was the problem. This lane has been the problem the whole match. This Sky Altar has been getting flipped a number of times. No rally here, but it looks like they will swarm it back down. So not a big deal there. But this Sky Altar has definitely been the difference in the match. The arc was just returned by OWR. A 4,000 point lead for OWR. And a gift code in the chat. If you are watching this match, do check out the YouTube chat, because a gift code was just dropped. I am not going to try to read it out for you, because if I did, you wouldn't remember it anyway. It's, you know, a pretty randomized gift code. But do grab that gift code, because generally speaking, the gift codes dropped during Osiris League matches are pretty darn good. So once again here, both teams have their own structures. You see how tough it is for an unassisted rally to take one of these buildings. We saw it from Arvix on the top side. We see it now from Alam Kingdom on the bottom side. If you don't have support of your rally, it's going to be very hard to take some of these buildings. But at the same time, you've got to put the rallies out there in the hopes that your field is going to get there in time. So 7 minutes to go before the next arc, and let's think about the timing that OWR went with there to return that arc. You see that they are on the attack in a number of lanes. They're on the attack here at this desert altar. If we just we're going to stay with this fight, but I would imagine that at the Sky Altar on the top side, they also have an attack brewing. So here is a heavy pressure again on this Eleanor. You know, this is something that's worth noting, everybody. What have we seen so far in this match today? We have seen a bunch of Eleanors get knocked out of garrisons, while at the same time, we have seen one of the few Gorgo Heras on the field successfully defend time after time. Most teams favor Eleanor Hera in Osiris League garrisons. They do that because cavalry marches are easier to bring for reinforcements. But the Eleanor is just so susceptible to the swarm compared to the Gorgo. In this case, this Eleanor is holding on pretty good, and it looks like some fresh red marches are showing up. So Eleanor is going to hold here for GV77, a big hold for GV77, trying to stay in this match. And let's quickly look up here, but look again here at the Sky Altar. Another better defense here from GV77. Looks like they might be stabilizing a little bit. A bit of momentum on the structures going in the direction of GV77. They're probably going to hold at this Sky Altar as well. But they did lose the Shrine of War here. They lost the Shrine of War. And still a bit of pressure. Now, it looks like they're cleaning up at the Desert Altar. Doing okay at the Desert Altar. But look, an outpost getting taken by OWR. The Shrine of War being taken by OWR. We've got 5 minutes to go before the second arc. This arc is a must-win for GV77. They must win this second arc to have a chance in this match. And they're going to have to take back several of their buildings before they go to mid. Look at this. The Shrine of War on this bottom side also getting taken by OWR. Disruption all over the map by the underdog team here. They are forcing GV77 to take back a bunch of their buildings when the mid fight is happening in 4 minutes. GV77 has a bunch of stuff to do in the next 4 minutes. They need to take back their buildings, and they need to get to mid on time. They have to go to this middle. And let's just look at the movement right now. Let's just get a feel for the movement of the map right now. OWR going to mid on time. They're going to mid on time in both lanes. Huge numbers from the bottom side. Even greater numbers from the top side. Massive, massive mobilization by OWR to mid on time. What are we seeing from GV77? Less. We're just seeing less. We're seeing less mobilization on the bottom side. Literally half as many marches rotating mid from the bottom side. Big rotation from the top side, but they do have to take a pit stop here at the Shrine of War to take it back. Not too big of a deal, but a few marches do get weakened from that swarm. Heavy, heavy rotation now by GV77 from the top side. Little bit slower on mid because they went late. Look at this. This is why. They went very late to the Shrine of War. A very late attack on the Shrine of War. Killing off their marches now and having a shot to flip this building. Not the worst attack, but a marginal one. A marginal attack here by GV77 because they're probably... it's touch and go whether they get this building. It would be a nice flip if they can get it. This player... Kaw is going to be late to mid because of this attack. And look at this, they're probably not going to get the building either. So these marches just would have been better off not attacking. You know, when you add up the marches that were in this rally as well, we're talking about 8 or 9 marches that went to this Shrine of War, did not take the building, and could have gone to middle instead. As it is, they're going to be late to mid. And this is a very big mid fight right here. Very big mid fight. You see how important this thing is to both teams because both teams are heavily, heavily mobilizing mid. Now, if it were me, I would like to have this temple. I prefer to have the temple in these situations. But what we have seen in the past is teams like 489, they will gather up much further out and then attack in and have plenty of success. Now, there's 90 seconds before this arc, and just GV77 is going to have to go in late. They're going to have to go in late because their players are still not there yet. Hard to say who has the bigger numbers here. Pretty hard to say who has bigger numbers, but both teams have a smattering of players on the sides. This player here, a bunch of players here just trying to defend this Sky Altar. Once again, so much trouble at this Sky Altar. And it is now affecting the mid. It is now affecting the mid because they cannot get there. GV77 starting to mobilize 1 minute before this arc spawns. They're going to go in late. They're going to go in late, but they've gotten a lot of people here. It was worth waiting. It was worth waiting for GV77. Caw, the player we mentioned earlier, now getting to this mid. GV77 rotating to the top side here for their approach on this building. Let's see what skills both of these teams end up casting. There's sneaky tactics from OWR and sneaky tactics from GV77. The engage begins. GV77 pushing in, only 30 seconds to go. To the death from OWR versus Heaven's Grace for GV77. That's 9 points for blue team, 7 points for red. A bit of an advantage here for OWR if they can get some early kills. There's the Desert Storm, 10 full points for GV77. The Desert Storm doesn't do a ton of damage, but it's nice to have in a big fight like this, hitting every march. And it looks like GV77 is going to try and get this arc. Horse over here with the Scipio is going to grab the arc. Big pull there by Horse. It goes down quickly. What are we seeing here? A lot of sad faces from both teams. This is very close. Very close mid-fight. GV77 looking pretty good going to this arc late. The To the Death Net has now worn off, but so has Heaven's Grace. Both skills have worn off here. Desert Storm has also worn off. Lady Key grabbing the arc. They're going to try to run with it. They are pretty low. They're pretty full health to start, so a decent run for Lady Key here. A lot of sad faces for blue. Still some sad faces for red. Boy, this is close. This is a close mid-fight right here. Blue's looking pretty good. A big run here for Lady Key. Lady Key got way more from that run than anyone expected. Pulling the arc onto Blue's side here. What a close mid-fight. Still sad faces from both teams. Just a handful of survivors from both teams here. And Lady Key grabs it again with a different march. It looks like it's maybe a Herman this time pulling it. OWR, are they going to do it? Is it going to happen here? Look at this. A clean grab at this point. The numbers are just slightly in blue team's favor, and those numbers are giving Lady Key a clean run at this thing. Wow. This is big. Massive upset brewing here in the realm of Horus. OWR looking good to take the second arc, and they already have a 6,000 point lead in this match. A very close mid-fight, and OWR stood strong against the Whale Kingdom of 2377. Pretty crazy stuff here, but we have to think about the ambush. At this point, you know the ambush is coming. GV77 has to ambush this arc. The best chance they have in this match is to steal this arc, so you know the ambush is coming. A bunch of players from the bottom side rotating through the middle. The ambush on the top side is being picked up here midfield. They're getting to this arc carrier finally, but they're probably not going to bring it down. They do want to bring this arc carrier down. It is important to get to this carrier and just put this arc somewhere close to the middle. If this arc carrier can get much closer to the OWR side, then it's just curtains for GV77. If this thing gets to the buildings, then the ambush just becomes really tough. You can see that GV77's priorities are split here. Some players are fighting. Some players are fighting at this point. Other players are trying to break through. A couple of cav marches from Bunny trying to break through. Here's Bad Horse, the original arc grabber. Pretty nice route here by Bad Horse to take this arc carrier down. That's what you needed to do. But boy, they're just walking through a gauntlet. These GV77 marches are walking through absolute gauntlets trying to get to this arc carrier. Unbelievable stuff. GV77 has played very well in all facets of the game at this point. They had a very good start. They've done very well on defense when No Mark was active for GV77. And then they, not only did they win the mid fight and fight very well mid, but these pulls, the pulls there by Lady Key were very good. Very, very good pulls, and just got tons of value. Tons and tons of value pulling this arc. If we zoom out again, what does the situation look like? It looks like the ambush is not going to work. You know, GV77 tried to ambush this arc, but OWR knew it was coming. They knew the ambush was coming, and they picked it up very well. It was a well-handled ambush by OWR, and they are very much in the driver's seat now with a 5,000 point lead plus the arc. Essentially an 8,500 point lead. And they're also taking all the buildings. Look at this. Flipping buildings left and right here on the bottom side. OWR has the Desert Altar. They also have the Shrine of War down here. We saw all of those marches rotate from the bottom side to chase down that arc carrier. Those marches did not do anything. They did not do anything at all. And listen, it's what they had to do, but arc is largely about putting your enemy in positions they don't want to be in. And this is the result. These are the consequences of all those marches accomplishing nothing, is that they didn't have enough field to defend this bottom side. And now OWR has taken all the buildings on the bottom side. They have a points per minute lead and just have a very, very big lead in this match at this point. This is the point in the match where if I was casting with Plato, Plato would say, Brian, what does GV77 need to do to win this match? And I would have to come up with some crazy answer. Because, you know, I don't know what they're supposed to do to win this match. They're down like 10,000 points. Some underdog bettors in the chat definitely starting to lick their chops at this point. Killer LP saying 16.4K on OWR, yum. Another player earlier was talking about their 2K coins on OWR. Osberg had 2K on them. Looks like somebody else had 10K on OWR. And your caster here may have also made a bet on the underdogs here. So we might be buying out the shop after this one, boys. Yeah, just a pillar to post good performance by OWR here. They're dominating the ratio. This is wild. It is wild to see that OWR is out-ratioing GV77 by about 15%, almost 15% ratio here against the account strength of GV77. That's crazy, crazy stuff. I never thought I would see that. And just very solid teamwork by OWR throughout this match. They've done things, their marches have accomplished things, right? We see these marches doing endless attacks on this Sky Altar, and they have actually accomplished the flipping of this building. Same thing here. We have seen such concerted attacks on this Desert Altar. The rally is almost always right behind the field. And they have just been flipping buildings left and right, whereas what we have seen from GV77 is a lot of marches trying to accomplish an objective, but falling just short. And that's why the score is what it is. Nicole is saying OW is so underrated. I tend to agree. This is a very strong performance by OWR right here. Very strong performance. Not a kingdom I know a ton about. I must admit, I do not know a ton about 2638. I know they won a big KVK recently, but I did not expect this level of performance from OWR here. There's really just nothing that's a fluke about this. You know, last week we saw 960 get upset by what can accurately be described as a fluke. They made a mistake, their opponents capitalized on that mistake, and then it was unrecoverable. You know, 960 could not recover from being down an entire obelisk. There's nothing about this match that is a fluke. Now, could GV77 have played slightly different? You know, could they have fought at the first mid-fight, for example? Could they have used no mark at a different time? Sure, they could have done those things. But, I mean, look at this. They're just on the attack. I mean, OWR has just been on the attack this entire match. Once again here. I mean, this is kind of a good example of GV77 marches not accomplishing anything. Like, what are these marches accomplishing here? They're just fighting in the field. All they're doing is fighting in the field, clearing marches. But they're not, they could be here instead. All of those marches we just looked at, they could be at this building instead, defending it. But instead, it's a swarm plus a full rally on this building. And it's just going to go down. Another thing to note is that all of these OWR rallies have been full. They've done a very nice job of having the correct number of marches, sitting at home, waiting for a rally to launch. Every time we look at an OWR rally, it is full. And in this case, they even got some reinforcements. Pretty good defense by this Gorgo. Once again, I feel like the Gorgo is the better Arc garrison. The Eleanor would be dead at this point. The Eleanor Hera would already be dead right now. The Gorgo is holding up and might hold up long enough for another reinforcement to get in. It does get popped, and there it goes. Another Shrine of Life flipped by OWR. This outpost getting flipped again. And look at this Peppa. One of the big whales for GV77. Peppa having to use 2 marches to just take back the outpost. That is rough stuff right there. That's bad times for Peppa and the team to have one of your main whales going over here to take back an outpost. And on the other hand, I don't think we've seen a blue team outpost get flipped this entire game, right? Like, when's the last time this thing even got attacked? This got attacked. Yeah, this thing got attacked, you know, 25 minutes ago and didn't even get taken. Although I'm not sure why it wasn't taken. James Brown in the chat saying, very disorganized for sure. Everyone fighting for themselves. Popo in the chat saying, how is Bad Queen losing? Listen, Popo, if the other team plays better than you, you're probably going to lose. Ark of Osiris is a very skill-based game format. Time Warp plus No Mark now being cast by GV77. So they do have the Time Warp, they do have the No Mark. Trying to get some points on the side, trying to get a bit of a defensive boost. But Ark is unlike KVK. KVK has a lot to do with spending. It has a lot to do with how many hours you play. Ark is different. Ark is a 1 hour long match where teamwork is at a premium, strategy is at a premium, and shot calling is at a premium. And this match right here is a textbook example of that. GV77 would wipe the floor with OWR in a KVK. KVKs would last many days, and GV77 would simply be stronger. They would walk into that KVK with a stronger army, and they would win. But in Ark of Osiris, for 1 hour, OWR played better than GV77. They flat out played better than the red team here. And so they're going to win the match. They're going to win the match. And that, to my mind, is why Ark of Osiris is a fantastic game mode. Because in a game that is heavily determined by the strength of your army, Ark is an outlet for players who want to really have some skill expression, really show their teamwork and their decision making in this game. Now, all that being said, if GV77 had been sharper here, maybe it would be a different story. It is certainly, you know, an open question. Is this a match that OWR won, or is it a match that GV77 lost? Always a bit of both, but I would really lean, in this case, towards OWR winning this match, because they have just been very solid every step of the way. And when you're this solid, you end up putting so much pressure on the enemy. I mean, once again here, look at this. This Desert Altar gets flipped again, and they flip it like moments before. you know, the red team gets here. Now, they've had this building for a bit. They've had this building for a minute or so now, but... And look at how crisp that was. They cast no mark a few seconds after taking this building. Actually, that's not true, but they cast no mark a few seconds before getting the full capture. So it's, you know, it's a 6,000 point game now. They're holding this arc. 12 minutes left. They are going to have to return this arc very soon. So there will be a third arc. It is worth noting that there will be a third arc. As much as we're trying to give all the flowers to OWR, Order of the White Rose, there is going to be a third arc. Now the problem is they're going to be down like 11,000 points, right? So like that's the issue for GV77 here, is that once this arc gets returned, the points are just going to be out of reach. Both teams do a decent amount of gathering. Let me pull up the gathering stats for both of these teams here. Last week, GV77 did 3K gathering, and OWR did 4K gathering. So in the past, OWR has outgathered them slightly. And when you add all those things together with one more arc, it is largely out of reach here for GV77. And there's the arc. There's the arc capture. So one more arc in this match. It'll be interesting to see how heavily teams mobilize for this last arc. You certainly have, if you're GV77, you certainly are feeling demoralized at the moment. There's just no question about it, right? You know, when 960 lost last week, that was a huge opening for GV77 to win the realm of Horus. Their bitter rival, 960, gets knocked out, and all of a sudden this team becomes the favorite to win this realm. And it's not going to work out for them. They ran into a buzzsaw here from OWR. I mean, OWR has flipped buildings in every lane. Every single lane. We have seen all of these buildings get taken multiple times. This Shrine of War has probably been flipped the least, but it has gotten flipped. It's been flipped several times, and this is their strong lane. This is GV77's traditionally strongest lane. This is where Mr. Hope and Wild Lion play. This is a lane where last season, we saw this lane flip this Desert Altar against 960 multiple times. Hope and Lion flipped this building against 960 multiple times. And in this match, they have barely ever flipped the altar, and in many cases, they haven't even gotten close to the building. They haven't even mustered an attack. You can see Wild Lion going out with the Subutai rally, while his son here swarms down their own Shrine of War. Mr. Hope would normally be up here supporting his dad's rally, but it's going to be a little bit too little too late this time, and unsupported until a Subutai rally headed toward this Desert Altar. People in the chat saying that 60MX is winning this realm. 60MX is certainly... I think 60MX is win their current match against Alt, so that will mean that 60MX is in the Final Four. OWR is to be reckoned with. You have to reckon with OWR in this bracket. The other teams in this bracket would include 3379 and 3174, and I'm currently blanking on what the fourth matchup is for this. Let me... Well, I don't want to open my phone. I'm not going to risk opening my phone to check the bracket, because, you know, I don't want to kick us out of this match and everything. Blordax says, how was Time Warp used? Time Warp was used on No Mark. Both teams used no mark a second time after the second arc. So they time warped the no mark. And we see from the scoring that the structure game is at least a little bit closer than the arc game. But the structure game has been dominated by OWR, and they have gotten more value for both of their no marks than GV77 did. I believe it's 75 DC. Yes, it is the fourth quarterfinal match in the Realm of Horus is going to be 75 DC against E68. The favorite in that match is 75 DC, and they will play more than likely OWR next week. So we're looking at 60 MX on one side of the bracket, and we're looking at OWR versus 75 DC on the other side of the bracket. That's going to be a very interesting match next week, for sure, as two slightly surprising teams fight to make it to the finals. Looks like the match is wrapping up. We're on a 5-minute delay here. Kildy in the chat from 2377. Kildy was in the match today, I do believe. GV638, very good team. We have practiced with them a lot, and they've improved a lot the last couple months. So shout out to Kildy. Thank you for jumping into the chat. And yeah, tough loss here for 2377. But they may have seen it coming, or they may have expected this a little bit better than some of us did, because as Kildy said, they have practiced against OWR. And, you know, that is one of the factors I haven't talked about much in this match, is that teams are practicing more during this Osiris League season than they have in the past. It is much easier to set up practice matches now. And so a team like OWR can really focus on Arc. They can get a lot of practice in against tough competition. And we see the evidence of that practice. We see we see that practice manifesting itself in this match, because they have been very sharp with their attacks. You know, once again here, a few marches sneaking through the defense to get to this building. They might hold this time. GV77 might hold this time. But look at this, the Shrine of War flipping again here. You know, there's an attack over here. They're finally going to flip this Desert Altar, I think. Maybe. This is for pride right here. Mr. Hope and Wild Lion, they do not want to go this whole match without flipping this Desert Altar. So they do get the flip here on the Desert Altar. It's going to cost them the Shrine of War. It cost them the Shrine of War, but they did finally get this Desert Altar. And they slipped an Eleanor in there. So pretty nice attack here by Mr. Hope and Wild Lion. And this is going to disrupt OWR a little bit. And we do see that GV77 is mobilizing better to mid. At this point, OWR might be giving up the mid to make sure they hold their buildings. They just want to triage, because they know they have a huge lead. They don't want to have Disaster Strike where they lose the mid and lose all their buildings. So they're focused on the sides, and they're getting more value here at the Sky Altar. The Killer saying the practice matches have made AOO more fun. I think we have certainly seen the level of play go up for some teams, right? You know, OWR certainly playing better than we've seen them play in the past. 75 DC is another team that has played well this season. The young kingdoms like 3310, you see the practice. You see all the practice paying off for teams like 3310. On the other hand, we have not seen that practice make the top teams better. 960 did not play better as a result of practice, and GV77 also did not play better as a result of practice. I've not been able to watch 93T yet. I've not been able to watch JST yet or 489. It may be that the level of play of some of the other top teams has risen as a result of practicing, but we have not seen that in the matches that we have cast on this channel so far. In fact, it's almost like the level of play has dropped a bit from 960, or from 60 GT and from GV77. Now, 960 certainly has a team still alive in this tournament. 60 MX is still very much alive in this tournament, and we'll see how they do. But this is it for 2377. This is their last team that was alive in this Osiris League. They lost their last KVK, and now they are now in a KVK that they stealth registered for, hoping to have a somewhat easy KVK. The other three camps turned against them and forced them into a 3 versus 1, which I'm sure is not what GV77 wanted. So this is a tough moment for this kingdom. Losing their last KVK, being upset in Osiris League, and now they have to turn around and keep fighting in a 1 versus 3 KVK without their R5 Shark. A tough moment here for GV77, a kingdom that has been rising through the ranks for years, has not had necessarily an easy time of it. They were certainly challenged last year in Anubis, but this is a very tough moment for this kingdom, losing left and right, and now needing to turn things around and start to play better without Shark in charge. They certainly have the tools to do it. The question is, do they have the will? Philip in the chat saying, nah, it's because 77 and 60 are used to just overwhelming with brute force. I certainly think there is some truth to that. You know, you can brute force your way through a lot of things in this game. And you've even been able to brute force your way through the Osiris League in the past, because you would just play defense on the sides and then win every mid fight. That was the 960 strategy for a long time. But now with no mark and some of the other new skills, you know, the reduced cost for hard push as well, now the side play is so important that it requires more coordination. You have to coordinate how many marches you're sending mid, where your marches are going on the sides. It requires more teamwork. Osiris League requires more teamwork this season than it did in the past. I'm not even watching the arc. I apologize for that. Here's the arc. GV77 did grab it. They're trying to return it in time, but they're not going to get it. They're so close, yet so far here from this outpost. And we have 10 seconds left in this match. And it is going to be a very big win for OWR, pulling a massive upset against the former Osiris League champions, GV77. Wow. What a match for the Order of the White Rose, winning in occupation score, winning in arc score, getting beat in gathering. But the farmers were not enough for GV77. A huge win here for OWR. They were ahead from start to finish. Very impressive. 110,000 total kills and only 10 million healed. I'm sure they expected that this was going to be more costly, but a very big win for Order of the White Rose. Congratulations to them for winning the castle skin, for being a semifinalist, and we will see OWR next week for their semifinal match. This is a team that has the ability to win this entire realm. I will be back in 1 hour for another match from the realm of Horus. We are going to cast 3379 against 3174 on this channel. So do tune in. 1 hour from now, I will be back covering that match. Thank you all for watching. Throw a like on your way out, and I will see you in 1 hour.